All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by good friends here at Mile High Sports. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets, and I'm very excited to be able to do that once again and be able to react to some not garbage. I was going to say the word garbage, but uh, every year the player rankings craze it captivates people. You talk about it. It's a good thing to do for a day, a couple, a week, whatever, and then you move on with your life. Fortunately, a lot of these are immortalized in history, and as you get the benefit of hindsight, sometimes you can really look at some of these and think, man, what were these guys thinking? And over at Locked On, I had to take, not had to, I got to take part in the exercise of ranking the top 100 players in the NBA. We went through that list. I'm not going to talk about the list here. I'm going to talk about the ESPN list because this is the national narrative. This is it's very defining in terms of how a lot of players are viewed. And you get a panel of people that are contributing to it, and they basically go through and say, who do we rather have? Who would we rather have for this upcoming season? And you get some very interesting results. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Going to talk about Christian Braun later, thinking that especially with the context for this list, I think it's going to be interesting to see what his upcoming season looks like and whether he can continue to add to the deck a little bit and just continue to grow his game in the second season as a starter that he's going to have. So we'll get into all of that. Very excited to talk about it. But first, I want to really go over. It's funny, the list is always weird, and you never know how much, for ESPN specifically, it is about drawing attention versus making an accurate assessment. And I know that there are a lot of folks that take part in those assignments, like Kevin Pelton and Tim McMahon and some of those kinds of guys who obviously they are doing what they can to do the right, like they're just saying what they think. They are not trying to say anything about it. More I think about it, the more is probably happening is you're having folks other than those guys that are sort of putting their weight on their finger on the scale a little bit. So it is what it is. But sometimes you get funny things like for last year's list, Cade Cunningham ranking 67 going into the season when everybody could look at that and think, yeah, that's wrong. That's just not reasonable given the year that he previously had for this upcoming season. If we just look at the list for this year, let's scroll all the way to the top where Cade Cunningham ranks 12th. That was you could see that coming from a mile away if you're paying attention to the league. So it should have been a little bit foreseen that Cade would have been higher than 67. Now, you don't have to have him at 12 going into the year. He still has to prove, and that's the thing that some fans kind of get topsy-turvy here, is that sometimes you have to prove it. And I think with the Nuggets specifically, there are certain guys that proved it and there are certain guys that didn't. So for these first few minutes, let's just go through this list, and I'm gonna share some of my honorable mentions for the weirdest placements on the list before we talk about the Nuggets specifically in the second segment, and then we'll do a third segment on Christian Braun specifically. But the first one that really stood out to me, basically the top 10 has not been released yet. I'm recording this on Wednesday night. It'll drop Thursday morning. You'll probably have the context for like 6 through 10. Jokic is going to rank 1. If he doesn't, then you can have a canary. But 11 through 50 was released on Wednesday, and 51 through 100 was released on Thursday, or on Tuesday, going backwards, excuse me. And the one that really stands out is just Jimmy Butler ranking 18 is flat out insane. I just, as somebody who has long been a proponent of Jimmy Butler and what he has done for the league and what he has done, and just kind of carving out a niche for being a guy that cares really hard and is a playoff gamer and is somebody that can really go toe-to-toe with guys like LeBron and Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum and some of the top-tier forwards in the conference, Giannis, for example, and can come out on top and can lead his team to victories in that situation. it hasn't been that way in a while. Since winning the Eastern Conference and losing to the Nuggets in 2023, Jimmy has not been as good as the 18th best player in the NBA. That is Golden State Warriors bias right there. That is ridiculous. There is no reason for him to rank that high. I do not get it. He doesn't play enough games. He doesn't have enough impact. His stats are flawed because he doesn't shoot, and that's a problem. And he's a guy that you have to rest a little bit during the year because he's getting older, and that's not really a surprise. He should be ranked, for my personal list on the Locked On ranking, I had him 45. He should not be 18. I might be a little bit low on him, but if you have him in the top 25 at this point, then you better believe that the Golden State Warriors are going to do something. So everybody that doesn't predict the Golden State Warriors to do something, you've got 2 top 20 players on that team, apparently. That would be a massive disappointment for them. So very odd. The next one is his former teammate, Bam Adebayo, who at 21 has not done anything to justify that placement in a while. It is completely unrealistic for him to be there. The Heat were so disappointing, and he didn't get played off the floor in the playoffs, but his flaws were very clearly on display in the playoffs when you're trying to have him match up with guys like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in that first round series. Here's playoff averages: 17.5 points per game, 43.8% from the field, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 0.3 blocks. The dude was not good. And I understand that it's a random playoff series and you don't boil it down to just that, but it was ridiculous to see him that high. He should not be ranked higher than some of the other high level player, the bigs on that list. For example, Pascal Siakam should be ranked way high. He should be higher than him. Chet Holmgren was at 24. He should be ranked higher than him. I don't think that Bam is as good. Şengün should be ranked higher than him. Karl Anthony Towns was at 27. Are you kidding me? Towns is a top 20 player in the NBA. There's no question in my mind about that. And he has his foibles, but he still is very, very good. So ridiculous. It's ridiculous placement for Bam Adebayo. I don't know why he's so miscategorized. Maybe it is just these kind of Miami guys that for whatever reason get into the limelight. Looking at some other names on this list, Domantas Sabonis. I'm lower on Sabonis than most people, but Sabonis at 34 is insane. He should be ranked higher than that. There's no question about it. Zubac at 36 was pretty high. I don't think it's that crazy. I think I'd have him maybe in the low 40s, but it's pretty interesting. Amen Thompson at 37. They're going to need him. They're going to need him to step up now that Fred VanVleet, as we talked about on the last episode, they're going to need him to be the 37th best player in the NBA. If he's not, then they are going to struggle with their backcourt. Look at some other guys. We'll get to the Nuggets guys in just a second. Everybody else is in a pretty interesting it's a pretty reasonable place. Joel Embiid is at 47 on this list. That's fine. Kristaps Porzingis at 50. Not really sure what he has done to earn staying on the list, in my opinion, but it is what it is. Cooper Flagg being at 52 is purely for the engagement purposes. There's no reason to rank a rookie this high. I don't get it. Victor Wembanyama ranked 47 when he was a rookie, and that was still too high for him. No rookie should be ranked on the list. I do not think that should be a thing. Alex Caruso was also 53 on this list. So there's look, he was fantastic against the Nuggets. He's fantastic in the playoffs. That's still too high. So is Paul George at 54. I know that people might disagree with me on that, but that is too high for somebody like Paul George at this stage, who I do not think he's going to be at the level he was anymore. It's just not going to happen. Who else? We're scrolling through here. Tyler Hero at 68, pretty low for somebody. So it's funny. You get some Miami Heat guys that are considered really good. How can Bam Adebayo be 21 and Tyler Hero be 68? Like, go look at their numbers from the last season and tell me that that's the case. I understand that Bam is a pretty good defender. He's an overrated defender. He does not defend at the level that is expected of the 21st player in the NBA with his offensive numbers. There's no way, shape, or form. Michael Porter comes in at 70. We'll talk about Cam Johnson being ranked 67 in the next segment. Zach LaVine being 72 is gross. Like, Zach LaVine is a way better player than like his former teammate Kobe White, for example. Michael Porter, for example. Josh Hart. Those guys all ranked higher than him. That seems pretty low. Jabari Smith is at 74. Not sure what he did to jump so high in these rankings, but you never know. You never know what the ESPN is going to value. That's for sure. Tumani Camara at 78. That seems pretty high. Cycling through. Norman Powell's at 82. Okay, this is so weird. Like, I've been pretty low on like talk about the Miami Heat guys, but Norman Powell, and if you know me from listening to Locked On, you know I dislike Norman Powell's game. He's not the 82nd best player in the NBA. That is ridiculous. Like, come on. There is no way he should absolutely be higher than that, given what he did just last year. He was a borderline all-star last year. So that seems off to me. Some Pistons are on here. And yeah, that's about it. Is there anybody that snuck on the list that should not be there? Mitchell Robinson should not be there. He's too limited as a center. He's at 92 for some reason. And that's it. That's. I mean, I wouldn't have ranked Stephon Castle, but he won Rookie of the Year, so is what it is. Okay, let's take one more break, or not just one. We'll take two breaks. Let's take one break now, and we'll come back and we can talk about the Nuggets placements on this list and the reputation that these guys now have, including Jamal Murray disrespect. Interesting. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. Are you waiting for the right candidates to apply? You're sorting through resumes and it just takes so much time. Well, the future of hiring looks so much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles, so you save valuable time. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. Over 320,000 new resumes are added to ZipRecruiter monthly, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill roles sooner. Use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ziprecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. As we get closer and closer to Media Day, which is on Monday, there will be plenty of questions that we'll be able to ask to all of the players. If you have a specific question that you would like asked at Media Day, drop it down in the comments below. I can't promise you that I will get to all of them, but if there's a specific player or a coach, or if we get to speak to Josh Kroenke, if we get to speak to Ben Tenzer and John Wallace, then just let us know. Let me know and drop a comment down below, and I'll see what I could do, whether it's on record, off record, whatever it is. Okay, let's circle back to the Nuggets on the list. We'll go in reverse order real quick. Jonas Valanciunas cracks the list at 87. I thought that was very interesting. Was 91 on the list last year, and then he played less. He played fewer minutes for the Washington Wizards, started kind of a chunk of their games with Alex Sarr out at various points, but never was really super awesome like during that time as a starter. And then he and then he got traded to the Sacramento Kings and was the backup for Domantas Sabonis for the rest of the season. Obviously, it was a question mark as to whether he would yeah, as to whether he would make it happen, like he would stay in Denver, but ultimately he did. And I think one of the reasons was because of the role being reduced the way that it was. You kind of want to be the main guy, and some guys they don't embrace the idea of losing out on minutes to somebody else in the league. So completely understandable. But there was a reason for that, right? It's because he's not a perfect player. He's a flawed player. And I don't want to go through and count all of the centers on the list. But if I had to guess, if we're going basically by positional averages, he's probably about the 15th or 16th ranked center on the list, maybe 17th or so. Like that to me seems pretty aggressive. I would have to go through and look and make sure and confirm, but it seems like that's a pretty high placement for Jonas Valanciunas, somebody who's going to come off the bench for Denver. I would have had Bruce Brown knocking on the door for the top 100 as opposed to Jonas Valanciunas, but like if this is the case, if this is what Denver's actually going to get from their backup center spot, like you've got 6 top 100 players, assuming Jokic does in fact make it. That would be pretty impressive. That would be a good thing for Denver, of course, and it would allow them the flexibility to rest Jokic, maybe play Jokic next to Valanciunas a little bit. I don't think that that's going to happen that often because I think that Valanciunas is probably going to average about 16 minutes a night or so, but who knows? Maybe there's an opportunity for some more that I'm just not seeing quite yet. And the season can always change some things. But yeah, I thought that 87 was too high. And that's okay. Like it's not the player that Denver traded. Like they didn't trade for the 87th best player in the NBA. They traded for an upgraded backup center. So who knows? Like maybe that'll manifest. And you go to the rest of the list and you look at, okay, Michael Porter was ranked 70 and Cam Johnson was ranked 67. I think that that's about right for where he should be. I think I had Cam at about the 73rd, 74th best player in the NBA based off of my own personal list. And it makes sense. He's ranked just a few spots ahead of Michael Porter. It was the reason why Denver gave up a first-round pick in addition to the financial flexibility that they get. He is a more well-rounded player. He's somebody that I talked about on milehighsports.com on Tuesday that I wrote a lot about. I just think that Cam Johnson is going to be a better, more versatile player than Michael Porter was. And that's going to help Denver out a lot. So if he's ranked 67 going into next season, that's a good thing for Denver. It means that they got exactly what they were expecting from him. He'll probably average about 16 points, maybe 4 or 5 rebounds and 3 assists. And I think that as long as you're shooting high percentages and you're fitting into what Denver's doing a little bit better, then that's exciting. So we'll see what happens, but I think 67 is a pretty interesting placement. The one that really caught me by surprise, whether it should or shouldn't have, was Christian Braun, who unranked on the list previously for obvious reasons. Christian was a 5th starter for Denver for much of the time, and he blossomed into maybe more than that, maybe more than the average 5th starter, which if you go off of, like, just say 150 starters in the NBA, usually the average 5th starter would rank in the 120 to 150 range. So if Christian was going to crack the list, like I had him at, I think 91, 92 on my own personal list. To be ranked 62 is really, really high. It would show and kind of emphasize that the transition scoring that he's doing, the playmaking, the defense, the improved shooting, there's just a lot of things that he was bringing to the table that was clearly valued on a list like this. And I mean, do I think that he's a better player than LaMelo Ball, who was ranked 63? No, I don't. And that's okay. But would I rather have Christian Braun if I was trying to win a championship? Sure. Absolutely. Because I know what I'm going to get from Christian Braun every single night. And that's really exciting. We'll talk about him more in the third segment. But yeah, just a very interesting placement for Christian Braun. I was not expecting him to be respected the way that he has been. And then you move up the list a little bit. You get into the top 50. I was surprised to not see Aaron Gordon here. And then I click over to the next list, which is 50 to 11, and I'm looking and looking. Hey, is that Jamal Murray? Is that you've got Jamal Murray at 46, ranked ahead of Joel Embiid at 47, but behind Jared Allen at 45? Really? That's an interesting list. He was ranked 31st the year before by ESPN, and there were concerns about his health, and obviously he didn't start the year that great, but he finished the year, according to the ESPN blurb, quote, Murray averaging a career high 21.4 points and playing the most games, 67, since he has in 2018-19. Murray wasn't as dominant in the postseason as he was in Denver's 2023 title run, but he increased his scoring average from the regular season for the fourth time in 5 playoff runs. He had a monster 43-point game against the Clippers in a pivotal Game 5. Yeah, I don't know what he did to drop to 46. I feel like he was probably just a forgotten player. There's a lot of guys, there's a lot of ball handlers around this. I mean, not actually a lot of ball handlers. Basically, so 45 was Jared Allen, 44 Jalen Johnson, 43 Larry Markkinen, 42 Julius Randle, 41 OG Anunoby, 40 Aaron Gordon. And then the next highest guard that you get to is Desmond Bane at 39, who I do not think is as good of a player as Jamal Murray is. I just don't. I would not trade Jamal Murray for Desmond Bane straight up. I think that there's a value in Desmond Bane, but he's not what Jamal Murray is in the regular season or in the playoffs. Darius Garland at 38 is like, I actually had Darius Garland at like 29, so I'd probably take Garland over Murray. But yeah, it was just a weird placement. And so many of these guys kind of misaligned, misplaced, I think, on this particular list. Like Scotty Barnes ranked 30, pushes a lot of guys down. And then if ESPN's going to rank all of those forwards ahead of Murray, whether it's Gordon, OG, Julius Randle, Larry Markkinen, Jalen Johnson, and then Jared Allen at center, then yeah, you're gonna drop a little bit down the list. If you just rank him ahead of those players, then he's 40. That's not that far off. I think I had him at like 38 on my own personal list. So is it insulting? Yeah, it's a little disrespectful. I think it's probably an overcorrection to who he actually is. He is the 30th best player when the lights are brightest and the 40th best player for the rest of the time. And so you're somewhere in the middle there, I think, for the rest of it. And he might even be better than that for lights being brightest. Like that's probably underselling who he is. So here's hoping he takes the disrespect personally and kind of brings that in with him to the rest of the season and starts things off with a bang, because that's the thing that has really kind of set the tone for him over the course of his entire career, is the slow starts. If he could get off to a better start, so much of this goes out the window. Like people, if he were to average 24 points per game for the first 3 months as opposed to 17, and then he averaged 17 for the last 3 months, the impressions of who he was would be way different. It would just be better because people stop paying attention to your latter half stats as long as you're winning. They don't care about it then. They just care about it when they first look at it 20 games into the year. So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. Finally, though, Aaron Gordon ranking 40th, I do think is interesting. He's in the midst of these, like I said, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Larry Markkinen, Jalen Johnson. I think he's in the midst of those guys. Like that's the tier that he deserves to be in. He was the hero in the playoffs. He had the injuries. I wrote about it today on MHS that, yeah, he's just got to get healthy. And unfortunately, the defense, I do think for Denver, it's not all on Aaron Gordon per se, but like with the injuries that he sustained, he wasn't at his best defensively throughout the entire regular season. And when he's not at his best, it puts a lot of pressure on others to be better. And Jokic just wasn't going to do that. Murray, he was fine defensively. Porter was not fine defensively. Christian Braun was trying his butt off for the entire time, but couldn't really make up the difference. Denver just didn't have enough defensively. And they usually have enough defensively when Gordon is at his best, when he's physical, when he's athletic, when he's moving well. So Denver needs that version of him. He had 0.73 stocks per game, I think was the number that I pulled. 0.73 stocks per game, which is steals plus blocks, which was a career low. The rate averages need to improve. That's got to be a massive key for Denver, is to be more like getting into passing lanes, blocking shots, being more disruptive to people. The more disruptive you are defensively, the more impactful you are defensively from a playoff standpoint, in my opinion. So if he can lead that charge as a disruptor, then that would really help the Nuggets tremendously. Okay, enough about top 100 lists. Jokic will be ranked 1 or some number other than 1 if ESPN decides that they want to pull some shenanigans. They've done it before, ranking Giannis ahead of him before. They've ranked Luka too high before. They've ranked Steph too high before. So I wouldn't put it past anybody, but could they rank Shea number 1? Would that, that would be very interesting. It would be funny because there was a survey that went out that ESPN, I think it was Bontemps, actually put out about who is the best player in the NBA, and 20 executives around the league were asked, and 19 said Nikola Jokic and 1 said Luka Doncic. So if Jokic is not number 1, then just know it was clickbait. That's just what it was. When we come back, we're going to talk about Christian Braun. We're going to talk about some more improvement areas for him, some additional thoughts that I have on what he can do to better his game. We'll be back here on Pickaxe and Roll. This podcast is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone feel vulnerable. Data brokers, they profit off of your data. It's a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, and harassment. Have you ever been the victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to deleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/HIT and enter code HIT at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/HIT, code HIT. All right, final segment, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Again, we are moving ever closer to the NBA season, and there's a lot of changes that are going to happen. There's a lot of shifts that are going to happen. But for the Nuggets, they're hoping that one thing stays the same, and that is Christian Braun being the player that he has been over the course of the past year. Now, there are places where he can, of course, get better. There are places where he can improve. According to FanDuel, as I look up the most improved odds right now, I don't expect him to win the most improved player. He's already kind of had that level of improvement. Christian Braun is plus 5,000 to be the most improved player in the NBA. That is well down the list. Amen Thompson is plus 850. Andrew Nembhard is plus 1,000. These are guys that are, of course, going to have larger roles heading into the NBA season. Oscar Thompson also up there. I think that for Christian Braun to improve, he would have to do a couple of things. The first, and something that I've talked about ad nauseum on this show, on other shows, on Mile High Sports, he's got to get the 3-point volume up. I put out this list, and maybe I'll throw it up on screen if I can add it here real quick. There's a list that I put together of the top shooting guards in the NBA, the 3-point shooters in the NBA, and like where they ranked from a 3-point attempts perspective. I'm going to throw it up on screen now, and we'll try to put it into a better place for everybody. It's not that great. Basically, this is sorting by 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. So if you play 100 possessions on average, how many times are you personally getting up a 3-point attempt? Christian Braun's at the bottom of the list at 4.0, joining very similar players in Josh Hart, Dyson Daniels, Andrew Nemhard is somebody who more of a point guard, like ball handler type than some of those other guys, but Josh Green is also there. These are your 3-and-D guys, but they are low volume or mid volume 3-and-D. And Kentavious Caldwell Pope's also there. With Denver, Kentavious Caldwell Pope was about 6.4, 6.6 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. So him going up to 7.2 it's not a surprise given that he has to space the floor for Orlando, but Christian isn't asked to take that many threes during the regular season. And that's a good thing because Denver was second in offense, third in offense, certainly a top 3 offense throughout much of the year. And they had a formula that they liked to apply and that Christian liked to apply that was effectively, why change something when you can just ram the ball down their throats over and over and over again? And it was attacking the paint. It was attacking in transition. It was abusing the cuts. It was slipping screens. It was just doing like running DHOs and then dribbling and getting downhill and things like that. Christian was so good at that. And he has that in the bag, and that's a good thing to see. However, looking back at the playoffs, and I went back and I watched all of his buckets, not his misses, but his buckets. There was one mid-range shooting attempt that I saw go in. And there were a couple floaters, but not that many. Mostly it was almost exclusively layups around the rim or three-pointers that he did make. He attempted a lot. Just going from effectively 2.5 three-point attempts per game, which was exactly, I believe that's exactly what it was during the regular season. Yeah, he averaged 2.8 three-point attempts per game in the regular season to 5.1. The three-point percentage, the three-point efficiency dropped in part because those attempts were forced upon him in a lot of these cases. He needs to be more comfortable letting threes fly. And that happens through very careful, very diligent work during the regular season to just fire up threes and be comfortable taking those shots quickly, tightening up the release, getting as comfortable as you can with it, because he is a good three-point shooter. I'm gonna put it down. Like, he is a good three-point shooter. I know the numbers have not bared it out during the playoffs, but every time he gets set, he's comfortable. The problem is that when the playoffs come around, it's very rare that you're actually set. It's very rare that you're going to be on balance. You're going to get some weird kickouts. You're going to have to make something out of nothing. And he did make some of those possessions. I'm not going to sit here and say that he didn't. But the best thing he can do for the Nuggets, not just for himself, but for the Nuggets, is to be a more versatile three-point shooter. He has some pull-up three in his game, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, hey, you have to be willing to just catch and fire on a consistent basis and not hesitate. And there are too many times, whether it's in the playoffs, whether it's in the regular season, where hesitation actually ruined Denver's offense and ruined Denver's flow. They're creating those shots for him to shoot. And sometimes he's shooting them, sometimes he's not. He has to be comfortable where it just happens every single time. It's a 100% I am putting it up, and then the defense reacts to that, and then he's got a wide open driving lane at that point. That is where you start to really unlock the game. And then like a mid-range jumper or floater it would not go amiss, because there's going to come a time where he's driving to the rim too often and he's going to get hurt. Like, you can't really game plan for that, and like you obviously do not want that to happen. But he has to find some in-between game. And there's going to be a time where his athleticism ultimately erodes, where he isn't the most athletic player on the court anymore. He's not going to have the 40-inch vertical forever. And you're going to want him to be able to settle for a mid-range jumper and feel very comfortable for that. Like, right now, you take advantage of it while you can, because he's an amazing finisher at the rim. It really is remarkable watching him shoot, or watching him just drive to the rim. And some of the shots that he was making in the playoffs, the drives and the layups and the contorting finishes off of 1 foot, off of 2 feet, was really impressive. He's got to keep improving there. It's got to be more versatile. It cannot just be 0 to 5 feet. It has to be 5 to 20 feet. It has to be comfortable taking a shot off the bounce and not getting all the way to the rim. Things like that. And then defensively, like, there's not much that he really needs to improve upon. It's just about staying consistent. It's about, I think, so much of his focus last year, and rightfully so, was just fitting into the system offensively, doing the right thing that Nikola Jokic wanted him to do, that Jamal Murray wanted him to do, that Michael Malone and David Ottoman wanted him to do. And he was always in that right spot, but sometimes you over-index, you overtax, and one of the reasons why KCP was such a good defender for Denver was because he didn't take as many possessions offensively. He was not a focal point. He was allowed to focus on the less glamorous stuff. He really amped it up on the defensive end as a result. And Christian Braun averaged more points, more involvement. He had a higher usage rate. He's going to be a better, more versatile, he's going to be just a more impactful offensive player than KCP really ever was in the league. And that's awesome. That's great. That's good to hear. But you're also going to want to see him dial that back just a little bit at times and really lock in as a guy who can amp up the steal rate on defense, can really get into somebody's airspace. Did a nice job growing in the OKC series and then the LA Clippers series, guarding two very difficult players to guard in James Harden and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Nuggets are going to need to deploy him on other guys too. Eventually, he's going to have to find a way to stop Anthony Edwards. He has not figured that out yet. Anthony Edwards kills the Nuggets every single time. He's going to have to be the guy that guards Luka Doncic. I do not want Aaron Gordon guarding Luka Doncic. I want him guarding LeBron. I want Christian guarding Luka. He's got to be great at that. It can't just be good. He has to be great. And there are other guys that you can really highlight. Say, hey, got to find the tricks of the trade, got to understand what you're supposed to do, got to really amp it up in certain matchups. And I think that he can. There's no question that he can't. It's just about where the priority list is going to be and what he can continue to do. But you just know that those matchups are going to be waiting for Denver down the road. They're going to have to face the T-Wolves. They're going to have to face the Rockets with Kevin Durant. They're going to have to face the Thunder. They're going to have to face the Clippers. They're going to have to face the Lakers. They're going to have to face the Warriors, and he's probably going to have to chase around Steph Curry for much of that time. So there's going to be an elite offensive player for him to guard every single time. And he got better at doing it over the course of the season, but now he's going to have to become one of the best in the league at it, especially if the Nuggets are hoping to pay him what he would like to be paid. Like, if you want to get 20 to 25 million, that's part of it. It's part of it is just, if you're going to be a 3-and-D guy especially, you have to be one of the best at those. It cannot just be, I'm pretty good at this, pretty good at that, and I just dunk a lot. Like, that's not who I think he's going to be in the NBA. I think he's going to be a very versatile, jack-of-all-trades kind of guy. But it's got to start on the defensive end for sure. Okay. Folks, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I was going to do another FanDuel thing, but I don't have any more time. We will be back on Saturday. I'm going to be recording. I do really want to try to get Jeff on. I'm going to do my best on that. I know he's been going through some stuff, but I need to reach out and make sure to get him on the show so we can have our fun before media day and basketball begins in earnest. I think that would be enjoyable. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show. Really appreciate the love and support on the podcast as always. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys very soon.